Warning: the following podcast contains irreverent humor, exceptionally nerdy opinions, potential cursing, and plenty of love for the prequels. If any of the preceding offends you, please turn off this podcast immediately, and may the Force be with you.
Why, you stuck-up, half-witted, scruffy-looking nerf herder!
You can't use that word! Only we can use that word!
We'll use the Force. That's not how the Force works.
You're tuned in to the Nerf Herder Council, your source for Star Wars opinion, conversation, and debate, featuring your hosts, JT. I mean, they killed his mother. What's he supposed to do? Send him a postcard? I wish you wouldn't have done that. AJ.
I love a good three-way.
Oh, my goodness. Steve.
Where did Ewok number 5 walk off to after the end of episode 6? They want that crap explained to them, dude.
On this episode of the Nerf Herder Council, we celebrate the upcoming Thanksgiving holiday by listing what we're thankful for in the Star Wars universe.
This is the Nerf Herder Council.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Nerf Herder Council. I am your host, JT. With me is AJ, and back again is Steve.
Yeah, I'm here in spirit.
Making your typical off-the-mic fart noises.
Way to botch the intro for us, dude.
Nice.
Nobody told him to talk right while I was doing that.
I knew if I didn't, we'd have like 5 minutes of mouth noises and fart noises and all sorts of stupid childish things. Exactly. So, we are coming to you the day after the historic presidential election of 2016, and we figured that we'd
The world's gonna end.
hopefully nobody's on social media, because if so, get any razor blades or guns or rat poison away from yourself, because you're gonna use them on somebody, potentially yourself.
Games are gonna be real.
We're no longer gonna be a democracy.
The purge, it's gonna happen.
You know what? I kind of like the idea of the purge. If the purge was out there, I think I'd whoop some people.
I got a few places I would visit.
I haven't given it that much thought. What have you been doing in your spare time?
Yeah.
Purge planning, just in case. That's
See,
what.
we're texting about the show today. Steve's like, I don't have time to think about this Star Wars stuff to come up with show stuff. But now he's got plenty of time to think about who's going to off in the purge.
Hashtag be prepared.
You're acting like I was thinking about this today.
Nice.
This has been in the bank for a while, man.
If I keep going on them like this, I'm going to end up on that list.
Exactly.
These thoughts started the first time I watched The Purge. I'm like, what would I do if this was real?
I have to admit, I thought the same thing. Like, man, who would I go after? Like,
I mean, for the most part, I figure I'm just going to hunker down in the house and hopefully everybody leaves me alone. But
right.
If everybody else is out there,
everybody into the bathroom.
God, I could use a bigger TV. Yeah.
You wouldn't actually kill anybody, you'd just steal their stuff.
Oh, yeah, I'd just loot.
You'd be pulling off like a Grand Theft Auto. I need this more than you.
Yeah, right.
Well, anyways, we are recording one day after the infamous Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton election. And since there seems to be a lot of vitriol and anger and hatred all over the place, we thought that we would kind of go against the grain and do a little Thanksgiving episode and try and bring a little good cheer to ourselves and the hundreds upon hundred of people who listen to us.
Well, this will also be the last episode before Thanksgiving. That was another reason to do a Thanksgiving-ish episode.
True.
Yeah.
But I feel like it all ties in.
We're all very thankful. Blue milk for everybody.
See, there it is. There's the first thing. We're thankful for blue milk. And with that, Steve, please introduce our sound effect for tonight. You
I
know,
feel like I should have added like a dewback or something to the back end.
You know what's funny?
Too.
I was just about to say we should have like a lightsaber igniting after that. So it'd be like a turkey with a lightsaber for our Thanksgiving episode. Don't do it. I see you typing over there.
Give me 5 minutes.
Don't try it.
Yeah, don't try it. You already took like 10 minutes trying to get that stupid turkey sound to work.
No, that was the other computer I was having issues with. This
Oh
one's
boy,
fine.
here we go.
Hey, is that
Just-
turkey?
Just talk.
Is that turkey sound still working? By the way.
It's totally working. Why wouldn't it be?
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. You didn't. Okay, all right,
It's
we're good.
Beautiful.
We have the stupidest show ever.
I have no clue what you're talking about.
I'm gobbling that up.
Oh,
But
that is just not good at all.
See, this is how we keep Steve awake during the late recording sessions. We just give him something to play with.
Yeah.
buttons.
Ooh, shiny thing.
Dude, that is weird though with this whole time change and everything getting dark a lot earlier. Coming over here to record this thing at 8 at night used to be okay, and now I'm just like, oh my god, is it bedtime yet?
I know. Now you know how Steve feels at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
I don't see daylight anymore. I leave the house at 6 a.m. It's dark. I get home at 6:30. It's dark.
It's like you moved to Alaska.
Yeah, I don't see daylight anymore, dude. It's crazy.
Oh, that has to suck.
My life.
All right. Well, anyway, so we thought what we would do is rather than do a topic specific show like, oh, we're going to talk about Rogue One or we're going to talk about episode 4 or something like we've done recently, we thought that we would actually kind of celebrate Thanksgiving since, as AJ said, this will be coming out a few days before Thanksgiving.
The Sunday before, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And basically just go through things that we are thankful for in the Star Wars universe. I think it's pretty safe to say we're all thankful for Star Wars to begin with.
You want to just go for that low-hanging fruit right away?
Yeah.
We're all thankful for Star Wars.
I love
He was looking at me. I had to.
Yeah.
I panicked and hit the button.
You see, you're gonna have to pay attention. All right, so I will start. And speaking of low hanging fruit, but I figured this is a good place to start. But
Rancor balls.
is that the sound they make dragging across the floor?
Maybe across a bowling alley.
Right. I am thankful for Disney because,
Elaborate.
well, even though it's not George Lucas writing the stories anymore, which I have a little bit of a problem with, if it weren't for Disney, we wouldn't have this massive resurgence of Star Wars, and we wouldn't have a movie every year, and it wouldn't be this global thing again. I mean, it's arguably bigger than it's ever been.
I think so. It's gotten more exposure than ever before. I mean, you got the marketing push of Disney behind you. Of course, you're going to get everywhere.
Yep. And I think they're handling the franchise in a really cool way with the doing it like the Marvel Comics universe. I was excited about that when they announced the sale. Everybody was kind of dogging it, going, "Oh, great, Disney, we're going to have like fairy princesses and Star Wars." It's like, no. I was excited because Disney owned Marvel and they've done a phenomenal job with that franchise, and they're starting to do it with Star Wars.
Isn't it funny how everyone was so afraid of what Disney was going to do with it when they bought it? They're like, oh God, are we going to see like the star going over the castle at the beginning of every
Right.
every movie? And are we just going to have all this like kidification of Star Wars? And, to both of those points, one, Marvel movies don't have a Disney logo at the front of them, and Star Wars are kids movies. So yeah, you can make it for kids because it already has been.
Yep.
Like there's really not a lot changing.
Yeah. That surprised me when people had that bad opinion of the sale, because for exactly the reasons you mentioned, they don't do all that stuff in the Marvel movies.
Especially
So what would make you think that they would do something like that for the Star Wars movies?
They only turned around in a complete like dump franchise with Marvel movies and made them the biggest selling movies of like probably the past decade.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, they're going to ruin Star Wars based on what? Like they've only turned around Marvel from garbage to like some of the greatest movies. Like people that don't even watch superhero movies love all these Marvel movies now.
Yeah.
And it's like what on earth made you think that they were going to ruin Star Wars based on what they've done with Marvel? It makes no sense.
Yeah. And I mean, they've chosen some really cool stories to tell. I mean, I guess, you know, we've talked before about the Han Solo story. Like, what are they going to show? Do we really need it? But they're giving us more Han Solo, which is pretty cool. You know, Rogue One is going to be awesome, hopefully, minus the blind ninja with a stick crap that I keep arguing with everybody about.
Yeah,
But-
yeah, well, we got to wait and see.
Yeah, we got to wait and see. But
Oh, wait and see. I just picked up on that.
I didn't want to say anything. I just turned a blind eye to that one. Heyo. But you know, I mean, the story of how they stole the Death Star plans is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, they've got this new trilogy where they did give us some more of the classic characters, but handed it off to some new characters that have turned out to be really, really interesting. I mean, Rey is one of the most fantastic Star Wars characters ever already, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Which is a phenomenal achievement, if you ask me, to be able to create a character that iconic with your first swing at the plate is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So, you know, they're doing a great job with it, and you know, making the decision to have all these things actually be canon, so that things tie in. There's no more confusion as to what counts and what doesn't count. And even though I wasn't a fan of the EU, to give some fan service to those fans and bring some of those elements into the new canon was a really, really intelligent decision.
I think it makes them more legitimate than they were before, because George Lucas was on record saying none of that counted.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Now at least they're on record saying, well, it's available for use. Just wait and see.
Yeah. I mean, like something like Thrawn, who is looking like such a cool character in Rebels right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you'll agree, Steve, having seen all the episodes of Rebels.
You couldn't even get through that sentence.
All 0 of them that got
Right.
deleted off my DVR right now.
If it makes you feel any better, I'm too behind. I didn't see this week's, and I didn't see the one before the 1 week break, so I'm kind of off myself. But the last one I saw was Here Is Heroes.
I'll be honest. I haven't bothered to purchase the latest episode because it's a Sabine episode, and who cares about that, really?
So you're saying you're not going to be saying you're thankful for Sabine later in the show?
No, I will not be.
Told you to give me 5 minutes.
Oh, that rules.
Where did the turkey get a lightsaber?
It doesn't matter. You know what I'm thankful for,
But he
Steve?
has it now.
You know what I'm thankful for, Steve?
Editing.
Turkeys with lightsabers.
Oh boy.
Oh, so anyways, to start that off, I'm thankful for Disney. Who wants to go next?
Well, I was gonna put one more point on Disney's favor, which is people were complaining that Disney would just water down the product because they market the crap out of everything. Does anybody remember Angry Birds Star Wars or Angry Birds Star Wars 2 or, you know, all the other side projects or the Family Guy spinoffs or Star Wars Detours or any of these other things that were so outside the realm of Star Wars that Lucasfilm was doing or had in the works before the sale?
Right.
Like, I think if anything, Disney's only done as much or less than Star Wars. Remember, Star Wars invented movie merchandising. So to say that they were going to be over merchandised by Disney is just keeping with tradition.
Yeah, I wouldn't say they've done as much or less. I would say as much or more, but definitely not less. I mean, you see Star Wars on, I mean, everything now. It's like Kiss. They're like the Kiss of the movie world. But
Star Wars caskets coming
exactly.
soon.
I would buy one of those.
They pretty much already were.
Yeah, but I mean, this is more.
Well, not
extreme.
officially licensed.
This
Not yet.
this is more extreme.
Yeah.
I mean, you can when you're buying mouthwash and hand lotion and stuff like that, and it's got like the Star Wars characters all over it.
Have you seen Rancho Obi-Wan?
Well,
That stuff already existed.
not in this quantity. I'm telling you, it was not in this quantity.
I don't know. We're not really qualified. We'd have to actually get it in with Steve Sansweet, and we're just not that good yet. But yeah,
we're a few million listeners.
There's
away.
a ton of Star Wars merchandise now. There used to be a ton of Star Wars merchandise. Maybe there are more tons now, but it's to market the crap out of Star Wars is just keeping with tradition. It's not cashing in on something that used to be holy and, you know, sacred art.
Yeah, very true.
And don't forget, you know, me being the self-appointed Disney nerd of the group here, what Disney's doing with the theme parks with Star Wars is going to be absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, it already is. I mean, if you go to Disney World now, just to go in the meet and greet lines for Kylo Ren or Chewbacca, like they have movie props and like reproductions of props that were basically like life size speeder bikes or whatever, and like glass cases full of lightsaber hilts that they might have been the movie ones. I don't think so, because I think Lucas probably just owns all that stuff, but they're probably all replica ones. But still, just the amazing things that they're doing with the parks that you're going to be able to do beyond just sitting there and watching these things on a screen is crazy. And Disney's really just taking this thing to a whole new level. They're basically going to build a new park on the end of Hollywood Studios down in Florida. And it's like, how many people like you guys that really don't care that much about Disney are going to make pilgrimages down there just to see that stuff? You know, like it's insane where this stuff is going right now. Even today, they have themed like fireworks shows every night that are just set aside for Star Wars, just because, you know, like it's Christmas season down there, and they're like, no, we're gonna do this like whole Star Wars, you know, John Williams music, you know, with the lights and the fireworks, all this stuff, because it's Star Wars. So
right,
screw Christmas, we're doing Star Wars.
Right. All right, so who's up next?
Yeah, go for it, AJ. I brought up Blue Milk.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, we are going, I guess, clockwise then around the table. So it's my turn. All right. I will say that I am thankful in Star Wars for Dave Filoni surviving the transition from Lucasfilm over to Disney. Because we're not going to get through a single one of these without cracking up.
The turkey is our notification that we're changing to a new I'm thankful for, correct?
No,
Yes.
I figure that's right after the I'm thankful before you talk about the reason why you're thankful for.
That is so fantastic.
But yeah, Dave Filoni, I mean, the guy came on board and helmed one of the most daring projects that Lucasfilm ever did. I mean, making a cartoon series like that, a legit, like, not a kid's cartoon per se. I mean, it was made for kids, but the budget and the production and the art that went into it was just, I mean, it was absurd, and it's never going to be done again. I mean, that's something only a truly independent filmmaker like George Lucas would come up with. And it was so important during that sale that they had some continuity, you know, at the helm. If you're going to take George Lucas out of the picture, then keeping the guy who was right underneath him, learning all of his story points and tricks of the trade and whatnot, that was the one way to appease the fan base and say, look, George Lucas is out, but nothing much is changing. Like George was already kind of grooming other story makers to be able to tell these stories for him. That's why Dave Filoni was on there, and why, as the seasons of Clone Wars went on, it was less George Lucas's ideas and it was more Dave Filoni helming the ship solo, where he would just go in and ask for approval instead of asking for story ideas from George. So to keep him on board was just brilliant, and I love the fact that he got through Clone Wars, got Rebels off the ground, and now has moved back into more of a supervisory role. I would guess probably for whatever series is following Rebels, because we know that's not going to go on much longer, just based on the timeline that they're telling right now. And hopefully, you know, they said he visited the set of Episode 8, for example, and probably Rogue One as well. I would love to see that guy get a live action feature of his own someday, because he's the next best thing to George Lucas as they have. And I just think that with the quality of stories he told and the style sticking so close to a George Lucas type of storytelling, if he were to helm a movie, I think that one would probably feel the most like a George Lucas Star Wars film.
Yeah, I would say so. The only drawback to that could be, I mean, both Rebels and Clone Wars took a while to kind of get their footing and hit the ground running. So and he's used to having all these episodes to build stories, and, you know, he's seasons at a time. It'd be interesting to see what he would do within the context of just making a standalone, like, 2-hour film, which although in a way,
when you have 90 minutes as opposed to, you know, 6 hours to try to get your point across.
But they did do those, like, 4 episode arcs in the Clone Wars.
That was the general format, was about 88 minutes of story to tell.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if he could come up with something that was appropriate, really. Like we've talked in the past about what stories do we need? I mean, would he give us something like Sifo Dyas, or would he give us something like the stupid episodes where it's just the droids running around like a couple of idiots, you know?
Well, they can't all be winners, can they?
Right?
It's 30 minutes of R2 and 3PO just going across the desert after the stupid escape pod crashed.
This sounds like the beginning of episode 4.
No, I actually think that a movie format would be perfect for him, because you take that 88 minutes, for example, from Clone Wars, and it always seemed like there were a few things in those episode arcs that were they happened too fast. They were glossed over, where maybe that extra 30, 45 minutes, whatever he would get to work with that story would flesh everything out, and it would flow a lot better. Because the 88 minutes is basically a short film to begin with. So just give it more time to breathe and you'll have a more cohesive story. I don't think it'd be a problem at all, personally. And my guess is the next era they're going to go into is going to be the sequel trilogy era. Something probably I'd say right before episode 7.
Like a 6.5, kind of like
Yeah.
Rebels is 3.5.
Yeah, I mean, really, what else do they need to tell between 3 and 4 at this point?
Yeah.
So unless they're gonna jump way back and do something that's long before the prequels, there's no other timeline to tell.
Yeah. I think the other cool thing about Filoni is that he really was kind of like George Lucas's Padawan.
Yeah.
I mean, he really absorbed a lot of the spirit, like you said, it would be the closest to a George Lucas thing. If he did a standalone movie, he really did a great job of absorbing the George Lucas feel and that way that he had of making it, like when you first said it was, not just for kids, the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
But it's also not just for adults. And that's one of the great things that George Lucas did, where they were kids movies, but they appealed to adults as well. And I think, Filoni did masterfully balance that line of kids like it, but then, people our age like it too.
Yeah.
So I thought he did a great job of actually absorbing the spirit of what George Lucas did with Star Wars, and to keep him on with that, just, it kind of keeps George's spirit alive in the whole thing, really.
Yeah, because a lot of what he learned wasn't just the storytelling aspect, it was the visual art of Star Wars. So a lot of the way he framed shots and would hang on certain moments. I mean, there's coffee table books from Clone Wars for a reason. It's because you can take still frames of that show and they're just art in their own right. I was just watching the last episode of season 5 today. And obviously they knew they had to blow that one out of the water because it was Ahsoka's departure from the Order. But there was just so much stuff to look at in there, and between the music and the visuals, I've seen that thing I don't know how many times. I still get choked up towards the end, because when the oboe kicks in with the soundtrack, and
Yep.
They soften the filter just a little bit on the visuals, so it has that kind of nostalgic memoir kind of a feeling to it. And then there's that pure profile shot of the sunset right behind the outskirts of the Jedi Temple, and Ahsoka's walking in small profile. I mean, it's just breathtaking artwork.
Yeah.
And that's straight out of George Lucas's head. That's the exact sort of shot that he would choose, and the instrumentation and everything. So it's not just Dave Filoni telling stories that George would tell. It's telling them in a way that George would tell them.
Yeah. I mean, because one of the things that George Lucas was on record as saying is that Star Wars is basically like a silent movie, and stuff like you just described, the end of, Clone Wars season 5, you could take out the dialogue and whatnot, and you can tell what's happening. You don't need the dialogue to understand that this is a serious moment. It is a huge turning point in the show.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that Filoni, as you said, obviously got from George Lucas, because that is, one of the hallmarks of the Star Wars saga.
And that's one of the things that I hope he can pass on to other people, because so much of what we hear from people making the films now is what big fans of Star Wars they are. And Dave Filoni himself has said in an interview with the Star Wars show, he said, I don't watch Star Wars to get inspired to make Star Wars. I watch Kurosawa and all the other things that influenced George. Then I can make an original story in the vein of Star Wars. If I just watch Star Wars, I'm going to make a copy of a copy, because George Lucas didn't get inspired for Return of the Jedi by watching A New Hope. He did not need to do that. And that's the same thing with Dave Filoni. He goes back and he makes sure that he's got original sources to pull from instead of deriving stories from stories that have already been told.
Yep. All right, Steve, it's your turn. What do you got?
I got nothing anymore, dude. No matter what I pick, like that was like a 10-minute thing about like what we're so thankful for Dave Filoni for, and I'm just like, I like R2D2.
Well, this is a general conversation. It doesn't have to be like in the moment. So
yeah,
you like lightsabers?
I'm thankful for Simon Pegg.
All right, you better explain yourself.
Yeah,
because I was waiting to see somebody jump down my ass about that one.
That's the Star Wars equivalent of this political election, man. What are you doing?
No, I guess personal level, I'm thankful for Wookiees.
Okay.
Because Chewbacca, case in point, my daughter, who should honestly, the way her mother, kind of shelters her and stuff, and me never trying to push her too much into the things that I like myself, she kind of took it upon herself to become a crazy Star Wars fan based, beginning and end with Chewbacca. And I guess it's a personal level thing, but if it wasn't for him, my daughter would have zero clue about Star Wars right now, much less be excited to watch the movies with me and be able to have conversations about it and do things like steal stickers that were getting put up in her brother's room. That she went up there and stole the Han Solo and Chewbacca ones to hang up on her door because she was like, no, I need Chewbacca and you can't have Chewbacca on the door without Han Solo. And I'm like, wait, like my daughter's the coolest little girl on the planet. Like,
Right.
wait, like that's something I'm supposed to say. And she's the one that pulls it out of her butt and does that. I'm like, okay, like you go for it, dude. Take whatever you want. Take all the stickers. Like, go buy more.
How proud were you at that moment?
Very, very like awestruck. And I'm like, wow, like that's my daughter, like no matter what kind of influence anybody else has on her, she could fall back
Right.
on Han Solo and Chewbacca, which is why I was so scared. I was so scared last December when we were talking about the characters that, pretty much they're coming into episode 7, but on the same point, we're also not naive enough to think that they're all going to survive and everything like that. I was like, for the love of God, you got to keep the Wookiee alive. Like, for everything that is holy in my daughter liking these movies, he needs to stay alive. Like,
did you freak out when he got shot when they were escaping the Rathtar scene?
a little bit, yeah. And I'm like, really? Like, this is where this is going? I'm like, I think I looked down at her to make sure she was okay in that moment, Like, as bad as it was for the rest of us, especially you with what happened to Han, like,
Oh, yeah.
I didn't have to sit there and really worry that much, like, with her. It was just like, I knew she was cool as long as Chewie got out of that room alive.
Right.
Like when the bombs started getting set off and stuff, and I'm like, wait a minute, neither one of those guys might get out of there, and Chewie survived. I'm like, okay, sigh of relief. We're okay for at least one more movie. So
She's got good taste too, because if you think about it, Chewbacca is one of those characters like R2D2, where, I mean, R2 is more popular than Chewbacca, but it's one of the few characters where there's really no kind of waffling. Like some people like, yeah, like we like Luke Skywalker, but other people love Luke Skywalker. I love Han Solo. Some people like, yeah, I like Han Solo. I think universally, Chewbacca is like R2D2, where everyone's like, oh, I love Chewbacca. Nobody really talks about it, but there's really no problem you can have with Chewbacca. People love him. He shows up. Look at all the merch he shows up on. I mean, there's so much Chewbacca stuff out there.
There's
and
like
no one really talks about him.
Yeah, there's no love. There's no Han Solo love or Luke love or Rey love, that people really go to that. But like you said, there's like an 80 out of 100 that, everybody likes Chewbacca, but
And they like him a lot, too.
But not to the point of the crazy fandom, for like Han and Luke and all that stuff. So it's like, for my daughter to basically pick for lack of a better term, a B level character instead of one of those A levels that everybody else jumps on the bandwagon. Like that actually says something, that's her dude in the series is
Right.
like not one of the ones that everybody else in the world is picking.
Has she ever explained to you why Chewbacca is her favorite?
I don't think so. I have to get her one day and try to get her reasoning behind why she went to that. Like I'm guessing to begin with, it was probably just the look of the character, that she really went to, and then the fact that like you can run around the house and she's making Chewbacca noises and I am and stuff, that like it probably just grew from there or something. But like to actually stay on that character all the time, that like she could, as much as she likes Rey now, excuse me, she can almost kind of do something else, play with her iPad or something while that's going on. But if Chewie's on the screen, she kind of like drops what she's doing and makes sure she knows what the hell's going on
Right.
at all times when Chewie's up there.
Right?
Like she got so excited. The you probably know the episode numbers, AJ, that Chewbacca was imprisoned in the Clone Wars in like Ahsoka.
Oh yeah.
Oh, was that the Kashyyyk episode?
Yeah, like I remember she was just sitting upstairs, not really paying that much attention to the show while I was like Netflixing the crap out of it. And as soon as like the came across, she like the world stopped, and she was like, "Is that Chewbacca?" Like in the rest of the episode, she was just sitting there like, I don't even know if she blinked. Her eyes were probably dry as hell, staring at the screen.
Right.
The rest of the episode.
Had to get her some Visine every 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think that was the end of season 3. Again, I'm a big special features, John. Special features of the movies. I watch all the special features on the Blu-ray set of the Clone Wars series that I've got. And it's just, I love all the behind the scenes on that because they really went crazy with the graphics and the detail on that. But I mean, she's got to be stoked anyway because Chewbacca had so much more to do in Force Awakens than he ever had before. I mean, let's just start with this. The dude got fingers finally. We saw him use his hands instead of just have a big firm mitt.
Yeah.
He got to blow the stuff up. He got to go on a Wookiee rampage. We saw the bowcaster get used. Like Chewbacca had a big part in this movie for a change.
Yeah, and we do realize that, dude, if you piss him off, like he is like deadly with that bowcaster. Like he like, in video game terms, he no scoped the crap out of Kylo.
Right.
like he quick shot him
And the
so quick.
stormtroopers.
Yeah. And we've read the stories before, of people are like, oh, well, why didn't he hit blah, blah, blah. We're pretty positive at this point, about 95% sure that he purposely shot Kylo where he did because he still has the emotional attachment
Right.
to Han's child and stuff like that. So, yeah, but it's like, dude, when you piss him off, man, he could pretty much wipe out a planet single-handedly if he feels like it.
See, she's gonna love that new deleted scene that's coming out on the 3D Blu-ray next week.
Oh, yeah.
where he rips off Unkar Plutt's arm.
See,
She'll
in
find that
Maz's
very
castle.
amusing.
I am so glad that didn't make the cut. I mean, okay, we get it. We get the joke about, Wookiees, droids don't rip people's arms out of their sockets when they lose. Okay, we didn't actually need to see a Wookiee rip someone's arm out of its socket.
Yes, we did. I can tell you why.
It's just too much of a callback, man.
No,
between the
I don't
training
know.
probe and-
No,
Here we go.
The actor inside of Unkar Plutt was Simon Pegg. I want to see his arm ripped off. I saved you guys an edit.
Yeah,
Thank
you don't even know if he has a. So
I don't.
I mean, maybe
look,
Simon Pegg does, but we don't know if Unkar Plutt does.
Look, if I could see Chewbacca ripping Simon Pegg's arm off, I would pay a lot of money for that.
Yeah, I agree. I would totally pay for that. So maybe they should have just left the suit off of him for that scene.
That'd be great. Like, we're gonna do this. Hold on. I don't. What do you? Why are we doing this?
But there were so many literal callbacks to Episode 4 in Force Awakens. We didn't need that one too.
I agree.
I mean, the 12 parsecs, and the training probe, and the hollow chest. Like, okay, we get it. You've seen the first Star Wars movie.
Oh, don't forget all the arguments about well they had to do that for the old fans to get them interested again.
I was only scoping my arguments towards what happened on the Millennium Falcon. I'm not even going to get into the rest of the whole movie because we know our stance on that already.
Yeah.
But just the Millennium Falcon references alone, there were already 3 of them. We didn't need a 4th.
Yeah. Very true.
With that said, I will be next December. I will be on the same
Steve
crapping bricks thing again of wondering if Chewie is going to make it through episode 8 or not.
Steve, you're falling asleep at the switch, man. I said I was. I said I was thankful they didn't include that scene in the movie. Jeez.
So now you're making him listen to every time we say the word thankful. Boy, am I thankful I'm not on that button.
I'm thankful for the space bar.
And I'm thankful you weren't listening to me a minute ago when you missed one. Okay, so I'll go next. I am thankful for Kathleen Kennedy.
Little derivative of my Dave Filoni comment, but let's hear it.
Well, yeah, but yours is more on a creative side. I am thankful for Kathleen Kennedy because she really, really involves the fans. And she's made it a point to mention the fans all along the way. It's always, well, the fans like this, or we pay attention to the fans on this. We pay attention. It really feels to me with her like we have a very strong voice in the Star Wars universe and that we're actually being heard and our opinions are being taken into consideration. So whereas that may not apply to the prequels, I think that'll change going forward. But things like Celebration, I mean, you can't deny that was the coolest celebration we've been to. I mean, the last one in Anaheim. I mean, they did the simulcasting thing. She came out and did the panel for the movie and brought all the actors out, the BB-8, R2-D2. I mean, they do all. She's so interactive with the fans and making sure that we really are the epicenter of the Star Wars universe now. And we were before, but it was just kind of one of those things because the fans have made Star Wars what it is, but it wasn't like they came out and acknowledged, the fans this, the fans that. It's nice to be acknowledged for basically what we've done, which is keeping this thing alive all these years.
So you don't feel it's too much of a good thing?
No, I don't. I think it's really cool because, I mean, look what happened, man. I mean, she's the head of Lucasfilm, and all of a sudden we're in a focus group at Celebration talking to Lucasfilm about what we like about Star Wars and what we don't. I mean, they're not only are they, fan servicing us by going, oh, we love the fans, and but they're putting their money where their mouth is. They want to know from the fans what they can do better and what we would want to see. So they're letting us kind of steer the ship in a way.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of disagree a little bit.
Well, you're not supposed to disagree, and you have this asshole look on your face over there. And you know what?
That's just
because I'm
face.
thankful for it doesn't mean that you have to be thankful for it. You missed one.
No, I did that on purpose. You're getting loud. I wanted to lighten the mood again with the turkey lightsaber.
Yeah, like I get it. I get that they hear us and we have a voice. At some point, it's enough. Like, you put out the stories, we'll watch them. That's what we did the whole time anyway. I don't want to feel like I'm being catered to.
I don't feel that that's the case.
I feel like they're in danger of getting to that point because there's so much fan involvement now. It's like the saying in professional sports: as soon as you listen to the fans, you're going to be sitting with them. Same thing where you make the Star Wars, we'll watch the Star Wars. Okay, if you're constantly going to the fans, going, what do you want to see? What do you want to do? Let's make it all about you guys. No, George Lucas had a vision for a story he wanted to tell that people happen to enjoy watching. He never went to the fans and said, do you guys like this character, or what do you want to see more of? I'll do more of that. I like more of the, it's going to sound hoity-toity, but the purity of Star Wars before there was so much call out to the fans.
I agree with you, but you have to remember that back then with George Lucas, there was one guy writing everything. Now there's a ton of people writing everything. And there's comic books, the novels, the novelizations, the movies, the Rebels, and it all has to tie into this greater story. It's a whole bunch of people trying to write to this one common point at the center of everything. And with George Lucas, he wrote everything himself. It was a one-man show.
Well, okay, let's take the Han Solo standalone film, for example. And Steve, feel free to jump in on this one. The Han Solo standalone film would never have happened under George Lucas, I think. Because
neither would Rogue One.
Okay, but at least Rogue One is a story in the saga that was already sitting there existing to be told. So and we agree on this. It's an important enough story that it deserves a film. Okay, so we're good with that. But the young Han Solo movie, especially having Lando in it and rumored to have Boba Fett in it, that's just Lucasfilm, now owned by Disney, looking at who's popular, who can we make a movie of so we can cash in.
How does that differ from Doctor Strange in the Marvel Universe?
It doesn't, but the difference is this is a Star Wars show, and I don't care what Marvel does with their movies.
No, it's the same thing as Marvel. They did Iron Man, then they're like, okay, well, now who are we going to cash in? They're just adding characters ad nauseum, even if it doesn't matter.
They're just yanking stacks of comic books, trying to figure out who they can make a new movie for.
We're getting a Captain Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, but again, that's the Marvel universe. Star Wars started by George Lucas having an idea for a story and expanding upon it as he saw fit when he had ideas to expand upon it. Now, Disney's just going to crank out a script ad nauseum, ad infinitum, until it doesn't make money anymore.
Okay, but that's exactly what they do in Marvel, and it's worked out fantastic. That was my point. I mean, they've done all these dumb characters you don't really think about that you would really be into, but all of a sudden, like Ant-Man, no one really think, okay, well, Ant-Man, whatever. But everyone loved seeing him in Civil War. He's going to be in Avengers, 3 and 4, whatever. It's cool.
Yeah, but part of what makes some of these characters that are so cool in Star Wars is that in some cases you only got snippets of them. Like, okay, I love Kit Fisto. I don't want Lucasfilm to give me a Kit Fisto movie now. You don't need to pander to every whim of your fandom.
I understand that, but I think you're wrong in that. And you've said that so many times. You don't want to know about Boba Fett. Why not? He's really cool.
Because part of what makes some of these characters so cool is the mystery.
No, it's not. What makes them cool is because they're get ready to edit. They're cool.
Okay, so if the Han Solo movie comes out and it's, let's say you love, we'll cross franchises for a second. Let's say you really love the William Shatner Captain Kirk. Maybe you hate the Chris Pine version then. So, but that at least you could say, well, that's a different continuity. It's not the same character. But what if this young Han Solo comes out and they just completely botch the characterization where it's like, that is totally not the Han Solo I remember. Then what are you going to say?
It's not really, honestly, in that there has to be a better example, I think, because in that one, it wouldn't really bother me because I'm like, I'd be thinking, well, I've got 4 movies. This isn't what I would imagine, but I would just think they got it wrong. Not now the character's changed for me.
Well, that's actually a very interesting take because you're supposed to just absorb everything as one seamless continuity. So if the young Han Solo movie changes like in the Marvel comic book where they wrote in a wife or something for him, and I still never followed up to see what actually that resolved itself as, but the whole idea that he might have been married or had an ex-wife or something that was never mentioned in the movies, everyone was up in arms over that. What did you think of that, JT?
I didn't know that existed.
Yeah, that was like issue 7 of the Marvel Star Wars series that came out.
Yeah, you're right. I remember seeing the big uproar of that on social media and stuff, and you saw all the screen grabs of that page of the comic book and stuff, but I have no clue where that even went after that. So obviously it wasn't that big of a deal. People made a big deal out of it, but then unless the story has not been told.
Why is that so hard? You and this computer stuff.
Hey, you're the one that wanted the damn turkey.
No, I wanted the lightsaber. I don't understand why that would be such a big deal if Han Solo has a wife or an ex-wife. He's Han Solo. He's the coolest sumbitch in the galaxy. Of course he's going to get space ass. What the heck?
Well, yeah, but a lot of people just, they got their version of Han Solo, and Han Solo to them is not married. Don't mess with it.
I'm sorry, man. If you own the Millennium Falcon and you can make the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs, you're getting chicks, dude.
My point is, I don't look at Han Solo in episode 4 and go, I've really got to find out what he was doing when he was younger and when I want to see when he got the Millennium Falcon from Lando.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. I mean, I've gone on record as saying we don't need to see all these kinds of stories, but I guess in this particular instance, I trust Marvel because of their track record, or I trust Disney, excuse me, because of their track record with Marvel.
It's going to be interesting to see that, but at the same time, I do get AJ's point of the mystery of trying to fill that hole in yourself lets you put your own.
You internalize
take.
it.
Yeah, it lets you put your own take on that character, and if they cover anybody, Han, Mace Windu, Obi-Wan, whoever, and they basically cover their whole story 100% front to back, and you have nothing to go on internal anymore, and it's all canon, it's all spelled out for you. Yeah, I mean, you do have a possibility of the character like turning into crap in your eyes, or
Yeah, that's a risk.
I mean,
I'll admit that.
it could make you love the character even more. But yeah, there is the risk of like, wow, I really didn't see Han as this kind of character. Like now you're going to feel some type of way about him watching the other movies going forward, because now that canon's going to be in the back of your mind. As much as you love Harrison Ford and Han and all that, you're still going to look at him and go like, you're going to see those things from that movie and go, oh, well, he's like that because of this. And, you might not feel the same about him anymore. So it's risky. I'll give him that.
Yeah. No, I could see that outlook on it. I'm trusting Disney because I think they've handled other situations similar to this one.
Yeah, that's a very
I think
good
they handled
point,
it great.
too. Yeah, they've yet to crap the bed with Marvel, as much as we keep bringing that up. Initially Guardians of the Galaxy was supposed to be a dumper, turned into one of the best ones they've ever made.
Okay.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange was going to be the next one that people were like, but then it got like a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes, and everybody loves the thing. And it's like, holy crap. Like really, these things are supposed to be dumpers.
Yep.
Okay, let's take that example. The whole reason the Marvel movies were such a surprise was because Marvel sold off all their best franchises to other studios. They sold off Spider-Man, they sold off Fantastic Four, they sold off X-Men. So they were left with only these other characters to work with. So it worked when they put them into movies because they weren't overexposed to begin with. These are all characters that didn't have enough spotlight to begin with. I don't think anyone says that Han Solo doesn't have enough screen time in Star Wars, especially after Force Awakens. He had so much screen time in Force Awakens compared to any other movie.
Not enough.
Well, that's what they're hoping, is that everybody just loves Han Solo so much that they can't get enough of him, because they're going to keep shoving Han Solo at you in one form or another until it stops making money.
Have you ever stopped to consider that they're going to have a bigger story that ties into this? I mean, they almost have to. I mean, because of your logic, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, what you just said, they're just going to shove Han Solo down people's throats. You can't really just go, hey, here's a movie about young Han Solo. I don't think that would work. Like Rogue One, if you just said, "Yeah, we're going to show you Rebels," people would go, "Yeah, who cares?" I remember when it was when the rumored title of Rogue One. It was when they said there's going to be 3 other movies in addition to the 3 sequel trilogy films, and it was Rogue 5, I think, was the. Or Rogue Squadron was Rogue Squadron. Everyone thought it was about like just a bunch of X-Wing pilots.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, what? Okay. And a lot of the people in the comment sections were like, well, this could be really cool. And some people were like, well, what the hell do I care about that? Like, what can you possibly do with that? But then it changed and it's okay. Now it's the story of how they stole the Death Star. So yeah, it's a bunch of rebels running around, but there's a point to it. So I have to assume that with this Han Solo story, they're going to actually have a story that matters somehow.
Man, I don't know, because one thing they've proven with Marvel, again, to keep going back to the Marvel franchise, they are so good at telling smaller stories that have connective tissue. You look at stuff like what they call the Defenders Project on Netflix, where you've got Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and they're going to have the Defenders coming up as well. It seems to be the way they're laying the groundwork in the Star Wars universe now, too. You look at just the history of the Death Star itself. You got the plans in episode 2. You saw the rough framework in 3. In Tarkin, the book, you get that last little snippet, like I told you, how they actually like fly it away into the deep reaches of space to complete its construction. Now we're getting Rogue One, and we assume that Jeddah is the planet out in the outreaches of space where they finish the construction of this thing. And then it comes back to episode 4 and, you know, so on and so forth. And even beyond that, you had some Clone Wars episodes like from the story reels that weren't finished, like the Crystal Crisis on Utapau. They intimated in there that the giant kyber crystal that they were mining on Utapau was to do with the laser in the Death Star itself. So there's not one continuous narrative like, here's the Death Star movie, but there's like, okay, a snippet in this movie, a snippet in that book. Here's a bit in this comic book. There's a TV series about it. You know, you can stitch it together through other stories, but it's not one cohesive tale. You have to like get snippets from here and there and put it together yourself.
How would you feel if they introduced Han Solo in Rebels, and that's how they start tying it in? Because that's really the only time period you can, considering it's young Han Solo.
Well, we don't know. We don't know now because his backstory used to be that he worked for the Imperials and was stationed on Kashyyyk and saw the enslavement, and that's when he befriended Chewbacca, busted him out, and went on the run, became a smuggler.
What if Agent Callus is actually Han Solo?
Oh God.
He shaves off the sideburns. All of a sudden he becomes Han Solo.
Right when you said that, the first thing I thought of was, I'm like, I'd probably be slightly annoyed to see him in an animated form. Like, I don't know why. It's just like I feel like I'm gonna feel kind of weird seeing a young Han Solo to begin with, because you have that image in your mind already, and it's Harrison Ford, and it's like seeing a young one is kind of going to be hard enough to get used to, much less see the animated version of him. I feel like I'd be slightly annoyed by seeing him come into Rebels.
Well, I will say it is possible that he could come off pretty well. JT, you remember the first celebration we went to in 2010, Celebration 5, and there was a little video booth there from the Dave School of Animation.
Yeah, I remember that.
It was a Han Solo
that
and
was
Chewbacca
awesome.
story.
Yeah, that
done
good
in
memory.
Done in the Clone Wars style. So the story itself was a little wonky, but it was only like a 5-minute demo reel just showing off the animation school, and it looked really cool, actually.
Yeah, it was tight. It was really cool.
Just like it's weird to see like the animated Lando right now as it is. It's like,
isn't it?
It's just, there's something about it that's just weird. It's just off for some reason. I think that's what I would be feeling if there was an animated Han Solo.
But at the same time, they got Billy D to voice him, so perfect on that.
Yeah, very
you
much
can't
so.
complain about that.
No. All right, AJ, you're up next.
All right. Another thing I'm thankful for in Star Wars, it's going to sound generic again, but the fan community.
Damn it, that was actually going to be my next one.
I mean, not only because we have a show from it, but just, I mean, have you ever like felt like part of a larger family than this fandom? It's just amazing. You can talk to anybody at a celebration or on a message board all across the world, and even the dumbest stuff gets a like or something. Like I posted a picture of the underwear I'm wearing right now this morning on Instagram because I got a pair of Rogue One boxer briefs, and you know what? Some I don't even know who, somebody, favorited it or whatever you do on Instagram. I'm new to this thing, but just even that. And then, BB Kate from Blob of the Hutt, also favorited it. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. So, a chick in California who's on a podcast that comes out of Ireland likes the picture that I put up just of Star Wars underwear. Like, it's ridiculous, but it's one of those things like we could see her at Celebration next year and just laugh at that. She could be like, hey, you still wearing those underwear? I'd be like, well, I washed them a few times, but yeah, I got them with me.
All right.
Twice to be exact.
Right. Like, it's
all right.
It amazes me the amount of goodwill and the way that not only the community has, been a good influence back on the franchise, like you're saying, Kathleen Kennedy, but also they've taken that fandom and made things like the 501st. And everyone's like, oh, yeah, you just dress up in costume. And then go to a cancer ward in a children's hospital. And that's nothing that Star Wars itself did. That's just the fans uniting in a common love for the franchise and then taking that positive energy and spreading it out into the world.
Yeah, you don't ever see people just walking around like, oh, I got Stormtrooper armor, so I'm going to wear it. Like, no, anytime... Excuse me, hiccup. If you see the 501st, it's only for charity.
Yeah.
It's like at Star Wars night at a baseball game, or like you said, going out to see little kids with cancer, or, doing 5Ks and all this kind of thing, or parts of, awareness parades or things like that. Like, it's always something, because the popularity of Star Wars is so great that they can use their fandom to help do something good with it.
Well, since you said AJ ruined your next one, actually the one that I was thinking about was the 501st anyways.
Nice. We can lump that in with this then.
So like you were saying, having, and I don't even want to lump myself in with people that deal with way worse, but my son spent the first week of his life in the NICU, and stuff like that. When you got the 501st, that they do get dressed up and they do come visit, the cancer kids or the sick babies that like I said, my son was hours old, and you have volunteers showing up making capes, and I shared some story a couple weeks ago on Facebook that a bunch of March of Dimes people were making Halloween costumes for NICU babies so their families wouldn't feel left out for their first Halloween and stuff like that. And some of it was like, and it was just like little bib things that they would put like a Wonder Woman logo on, or a little Star Wars logo or something. But it was something to give back.
Bib Fortuna?
Well
it was something to give back to, like to these little babies that have no clue whatsoever about Star Wars or whatever. But, they can fixate their eyes on things after a week, and you got some weirdo there in a giant Darth Vader outfit and stuff.
Right.
And it's like, it's just cool that these guys will step up and do that kind of thing. And it's for nothing. Like you said, it's all charity. It's all goodness of their heart, going to do that stuff. And it really changes these kids and people's lives when that stuff happens. Yeah. And like you said, it's all a community thing, that there's just this, you could disagree on stories and favorite characters and stuff, but ultimately when you're still looking at Star Wars as a whole, everybody still has this family community about it. And it's a really, really nice thing to be a part of.
Yep. And to piggyback on your thing with kids, I've done it myself. I have a couple friends that troop, and they do charity events. And one of the things that they've done, I've done with them a few times, at a local laser tag place, they get together and they all dress up. There'll be like 20 of them in stormtrooper costumes and, rebel pilots and all kinds of things. And they'll go in and they'll play laser tag with kids. So they camp out all day. They promote they're going to be
They'll
there.
play laser tag with kids and JT.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Hey, I'm not going to lie, man. I was like, sweet.
JT's pushing little kids out of the way. You ruined my shot.
But yeah, I mean, they'll go in there and like a game of laser tags, like $14, and the place will, agree like to give half of the $14 to, a local charity or something, a children's charity. And so these guys come out because, and I mean, these places were packed. I mean, parents with their little kids out there that want to go shoot at a stormtrooper, or they want to like run alongside somebody who looks like Luke Skywalker and, have a laser gun with them and stuff like that. And it's
God knows how much money the local 501st here made during Wizard World in February. They charged a couple of bucks for some guy to stand there in a stormtrooper outfit, and kids would come up and shoot him with a Nerf gun.
Right.
Like a couple of bucks a dart. How much money did they raise for charity over the course of like 4 days or whatever the course of Wizard World is? And it's like, it's just that silly little thing that just brightens up people. I think I might have gave them money and shot him.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and that's like when we always talk about celebration. I mean, that's the perfect example of it. I mean, there's never been any time when you ever see just, ugliness towards other fans. I mean, every once in a rare while on a Facebook group, you'll see somebody that's like being kind of a D-bag, but it's so few and far between. And honestly, most of the ones I've seen is actually a language barrier. It's like someone from another country trying to say something and they're not quite sure how to say it in English and they end up misspeaking and someone gets kind of pissed off at them.
Yeah.
And then we have to go, no, dude, he didn't mean that. He's from Portugal. Hold on a second. Just back down.
Like the only two FUs we have to deal with in the Star Wars community is prequel versus original trilogy and EU versus canon.
And special editions.
Like other than that, pretty much everybody is on the same page with everything else. You know, like those are the only, like going back to the political thing from the beginning of the show, like those are the only things that people plant their flags in and kind of get, you know, a little butthurt about if you talk bad about that. You know, it was just canon versus EU and prequels versus original. Well, that's about it.
Even that is cool. I mean, it's like, like you said, you can compare it to the current political situation. You have, you know, Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump and the supporters on either side. It's just hatred and just spewing crap at each other. And in the Star Wars universe, we have original trilogy versus prequel trilogy. And I'm, you know, one of the biggest I'm one of the biggest debaters of that, being, you know, such a honk for the prequels. And even with the insane discussions that I've gotten into, and pretty heated ones at that, it's never through anger or anything. It's just, you know, at the core, like you said, everybody just loves Star Wars. So while I'm busy yelling at somebody like our buddy Jeff, you know, or Mike Karlovic, completely disagreeing about the prequels, it never turns ugly because it's just, you love Star Wars so much, and you can do that with any fan. Mm-hmm. I mean, the amount of people I've run into at Celebration just out of nowhere, even like the little 30-second conversations, like you'll see somebody walk by, go, holy crap, that costume is cool. And then, oh yeah, it is. And then you talk to them for a few minutes while you're waiting for your nachos. Like, all right, catch you later. I mean, you know, we've said it before, but AJ and I have made a lot of friends at Celebration that we still keep in touch with, and we go visit outside of, you know, Star Wars Celebration. We actually go visit them where, you know, we were at their weddings and things like that. And it all comes just from how cool people are in the Star Wars community. It's like, it's almost like being a nerd draws us together. You know, it's like,
yeah, we're united in our fandom. It's great.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, there's so many things in life in general that can divide people into different groups, and this group is against that group and all this negativity. To have something like Star Wars where everyone can just come together instead of being divided by it, it's great. And it's truly global now, where you just see anyone walking down the street wearing a Star Wars t-shirt, you instantly feel like I could probably high five that guy and they would be totally cool with it right now.
Yeah. I do it all the time. Especially with my forearms having the logo tattooed on it. I'll see somebody with a Star Wars shirt, and I just instantly, I'll be like, "Hey man, cool shirt," and then all I'll do is say that and put my arms together, and they're like, "Yeah, man, like it's very cool." I've gotten into a whole bunch of conversations just based on stupid chance meetings like that, and it's, you know.
Yeah, you got people that are just walking around like you catch them inside of a Hot Topic staring at the same stupid shirt you were looking at or something. It turns into a 20-minute conversation of who the hell, you know, Boba Fett really is and stuff like that.
Right? Yeah, and I mean, you know, the fan community, I love being a part of it, if for no other reason then it gives us a chance to do this stupid show. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, we don't have that big of a listenership right now, but it's steady and it's growing a teeny bit, and
right,
you know, we're getting our legs under us and stuff, and
we're growing it from the farm leagues, man.
Yeah. Right. And I always say, you know, being a musician, that, you know, a band is nothing without the people that listen to them, because you could be the greatest band in the world, but if nobody listens, you're not going anywhere. And, you know, to the couple hundred people that, you know, or actually a couple thousand at this point, that have taken the time to listen to us or download us, if it wasn't for those people, there'd be no point for us to sit here and do this. We would just be recording it just to listen back ourselves and go, look at me, I sound like I'm on the radio.
Turkey noise.
Oh, I do that anyway.
So, yeah.
Wait, are we not supposed to do that?
I do it too. I can't lie. I'm totally addicted to the intro of the show. I don't know why. I just think it's so cool. I'm like, yeah, I've got a radio show. I'm such a little kid for it, man. It's like anytime I hear my own band on the CD, I'm like, that's me. Like part of me just can't possibly grasp or fathom the fact that I actually did something creative like other people can consume.
Right. Like we had, Andy and Grant on last week, and I'm just thinking like, Andy was telling me, oh, he's such a huge fan of the show. I'm like, we have fans?
Yeah. I was the same
People
way.
look up to us in any way, shape, or form? What's that?
Your initial reaction is why?
Yeah. Yeah. I told him, I said, he's going to be real disappointed when he sees this setup, when it's just like, 4 mics on stands around a round table with a computer attached to everything. So, all right.
This is pretty high tech stuff, man.
All right. All right, Steve, it's your turn.
See, I don't know now. Since AJ did his and we lumped ours, does this loop back around to AJ again, or do I need to think of a new one?
Yeah.
All right. Well, okay. I'll go with one. How about being thankful for Rey? As you said, JT,
I have to admit, I
she's
am
a super Star Wars character.
Yeah,
Darth
she's
Maul.
hot.
Darth Maul
wait, what?
Darth Maul is amazing. I agree. I'm thankful for Rey.
I see what you did there.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a different Rey, but you're right. I'm thankful for Rey's then.
Nice.
But Rey is. I think one of the best things about Rey as a character is not only did they hit it out of the park, so she fits in with the canon so well and just feels like Star Wars.
Did she hit it out of the Rey park?
I'm making this too easy for you.
I couldn't
Wow.
resist that
I need
one.
a hot button for the buttons.
Oh, geez.
We need the Big Chuck and Little John laugh on this show so bad.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Steve, get hunting for that now, I guess.
Easy
Anyway,
to find.
hey, we got to keep him engaged. Otherwise, he's just going to.
He's almost asleep. His eyes are getting red again.
Yeah.
But Rey is okay. We had our Luke Skywalker back in the 70s and the 80s, and that was great. But I think what's so cool about Rey is not only it gives me faith in the new regime with Disney, because they got that character so right. Also, the fact that usually I'm not sensitive to like gender issues because I'm a white guy. So I've had plenty of white guy role models in my life, but the fact that they could get a woman in a lead of a Star Wars movie like that and give girls and women too someone to watch on the screen and have that role model. I love that Star Wars is sensitive enough to have put women in the main spotlight like that. It's so cool to know that now it's not just a boys club. There was always women as fans, but now they have a character that they can really latch on to and say like, this is ours. Like, it's so cool to see a woman doing these things in Star Wars. So now we feel like we're actually officially 50-50 with the guys in this.
Yep. Yeah, I think if I was to think about it, my reasons for being thankful for Rey, because I am also, I think it would come down to something very, very simple in that she's a character that is so strong and so popular and everyone can get behind that she really is a tentpole for moving the franchise forward.
Yeah.
It's not like where, they had, the Jar Jar Binks gaffe in episode 1. I mean, it's the opposite of that, really. Instead of, the least popular character, you created one of the most popular characters.
Mm-hmm.
And she's someone you can latch onto right away. And, and that also plays right into your mentioning of the whole, female lead, because not only can, Star Wars fans in general get into it, but it really is a little bit more of a more male dominated franchise in terms of the fandom, I would think. But now
definitely in the storytelling.
Yeah, and definitely in the storytelling for sure. But now having that strong female lead, not only are fans like us, like the average Star Wars fan, but there's gonna be, like you mentioned, you guys both said before, having a character that strong for girls and women to get behind adds to that fandom. Yeah. And so she's just a fantastic character to kind of like carry the torch for Star Wars going forward. And I think the strongest compliment is that I didn't even realize that she was a female character. I don't mean like I didn't know she was a girl. Like when you're watching the movie, you never sit there and go, "Oh, it's a girl."
That is exactly where I was going to go.
Yeah, you just don't do it. And I'm not saying that I watch movies. I'm not being like a misogynist here. I'm not saying I watch movies going, "Well, I don't like this movie because the lead character is a girl." But in an action movie like a Star Wars film, you're always basically, it's always led by a big, strong, strapping male character in some respect, and this one is not. But it never pops into your mind.
Yeah, the fact that she is a woman doesn't matter to the character. It's not like this was some girl power trip or something. It was just a strong lead character who happened to be female.
Yeah.
It's like, granted, we had 3 movies apiece for Leia and Padme, but both of those characters had their strong moments, and they still also had their little damsel in distress moments as well. And you know, like I said, we only got one movie to base it on, but it really seems like Rey is not going to be that kind of character where she's going to have that like, ooh, save me moment thing. Like,
Yeah.
it seems like she's going to be the one that's kicking the ass the entire time, you know, maybe a little help here and there, but you know, for the most part, it's you don't see that right now coming out of that character. So yeah, it's pretty crazy to think that like you said, you know, in a male dominated, you know, saga of everything Star Wars, there's never been a character that is across like Rey, and that came, like you said, hit the ball out of the park that quick, you know, to have people just love that character instantly,
Mm-hmm.
you know, just with next to no build up or backstory. It's like everybody jumped on that train right away, and deservedly so.
Yeah.
And the casting of Daisy Ridley in the role was just perfect, because everything she's done as a public appearance since then, and all, you know, anything you read about her, is that she is the perfect ambassador for the franchise moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, Ace is on everything about that character.
Yeah, as a couple characters with her, with
Phasma,
with guy, I can't think of her name right now, but
Gwendolyn
yeah,
Christie.
Gwendolyn Christie.
yeah, and with Rey, Finn, and Phasma, you know, like all 3 of them have just really taken this thing, and they really like push the crap out of Star Wars. Like they really love what they're doing and push it, you know, in a good way, you know, towards everyone. It's just awesome to see that.
Yeah, and I, mean, I think that goes a long way, you know, for a more casual fan. If you see the actors really getting into it, it's like watching a band. Like if you see one band and they're just standing there not moving, playing this high energy music, you're like, okay, it's cool tunes, but then you see another band that's, you know, doing the guitar spins and jumping off the wall and, you know, hopping up and down. You're like, whoa. I mean, it gets you into it. Even if it's not your favorite thing, you're like watching the show. It intrigues you. And I think the actors being as passionate as they are about Star Wars and about being in Star Wars, you know, that just helps excite the average fan a little more.
Yeah, still
because like,
remember-
oh, I should get excited about this too. It's kind of a
Yeah.
subliminal thing.
Like, it was still like last year, it was really cool to see that video of John Boyega reacting to that last trailer that came out. It's like you couldn't help but just like be happy and excited to watch how hyped he got. You're like, you're in Star Wars. That's you. And you just, the way he got so hyped up about cracking that lightsaber in front of Kylo Ren, and it was like, it really got you into all of it. It made you a fan of Boyega. It made you want to see the movie. It got you. And then, you know, John Boyega was just going around to movie theaters and just like popping in, you know, during like filmings or showings of the movie and stuff, just like sitting by like random fans and stuff, and then like kind of like bumping them and stuff and making these guys double take, you know, who the hell's sitting next to him. And like you said, it's just really cool to watch them take this fandom and really just advertise it and push it, you know, so much to a casual fan that might not have cared that much. But you see, like you said, the actors get behind it and how much they believe in it. It makes you further believe in it if they're willing to go into it, because you almost never see that anywhere else. You know, like you'll see Johnny Depp dress up as Jack Sparrow and go to some hospitals and stuff like that.
I was just about to mention Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans doing the Iron Man Captain America thing.
Yeah, like it comes very few and far between. But other than that stuff, it's like, when do you ever hear about like these guys film the movies and then they're like, you know, they do their push, they do their, you know, 2 minutes with everybody that they have to do, you know, to to promote the movie and everything like that, but that's about it. But these guys genuinely, they're either amazing actors that don't care about Star Wars and are really making us believe they are, or they do, or
Right,
or
they're
really
faking it.
or they really care about this stuff. And
Yeah, it seems like more than just a job to them.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think if you watch the videos from Celebration, I think it was Celebration. Yeah, it would have to be Celebration Europe. With Gwendolyn Christie leading those panels and whatnot. I mean, you can just see that she, and I actually tweeted this and put it on our Facebook, I think, from our accounts, that you can just see the way that she's reacting to leading these things and asking the questions. Like it's like she's one of us. You know, it's basically, she's got that little kid thing going, like, oh my God, like I'm totally doing Star Wars stuff, man. Like, and it just comes across so much, you know, kind of like Mark Hamill. Like, he's been in this franchise since 1975, you know, 41 years he's been involved with Star Wars, and he still gets up there and he is so energetic about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, he loves being a part of the Star Wars universe. And, you know, these new actors are the same way. And it's exactly like you said, Steve. Like it gets you pumped up. I mean, I watched these videos from Celebration and I started getting like, yeah, come on, man. Started looking up more Star Wars videos, and I'm looking up Episode 8 news and, you know, all these different things. And it's so cool to have them feel what we feel. You know? And I think at the heart of that is, you know, going back to Rey. Daisy Ridley was the first one to really do that kind of thing. And then, you know, you mentioned John Boyega watching the video, Steve, of you know, seeing that last trailer for the first time, and Daisy Ridley had hers where she was crying because she probably, I mean, and I have to admit, I would be the same way, because you know you're in the movie, you know you're in Star Wars, you're doing all this stuff, but when you haven't actually seen it, you know, in movie form, and then you're sitting there watching it, it has to hit you where you're like, dude, I'm in Star Wars. Like, that's me in Star Wars. Like, it's super emotional. It's so cool.
Yeah, when you're on stage performing the scenes, you know, it's very half constructed at that point. There's obviously a lot of pieces of the film yet to be inserted later. So when you get to see it in trailer form, or especially the final screening, that's got to be overwhelming, because even you don't know, as you're acting those scenes out, what the finished product is going to turn out like.
Yeah.
And in some cases, it's a year or more before you see these things. So yeah, it's almost like an out of body experience, I would assume, to see yourself up on the screen, but knowing that there's so much else that goes into, you know, you're just one piece of a very large puzzle to make all of that happen.
Yep.
You know? Yeah. So yeah, that's Rey. Rey is definitely the perfect launch pad for the new era of Star Wars.
Yeah.
You want to give us one more and then we'll pack it in?
I actually have one. Get ready, Steve.
Gotcha.
I am thankful for our listeners, because as I, you know, stated when we talked about, you know, Star Wars fandom, the show isn't anything without people actually listening to us. And even though we're averaging about, you know, I would say the average is about 120 listens a show, 130, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Not nearly enough. They let me down too, I know.
Dude, I never thought we would have that many listens. I still look at that and go, where, you know, because we talked to some of our friends that listen, but there's only a few. So somewhere out there, every 2 weeks, there's probably about 115, 110 other people that we don't know that just found our show and listened to us.
Yeah, I'm amazed at that too.
Yeah.
I'm amazed and humbled and grateful. I think just the other day I was super stoked because our total plays on Spreaker just crested 2,000.
Yeah, I saw that the other day too.
Like, milestone, yeah.
But my background being in a band and being a musician, and I'm still a musician. I still play in a band, but it's a cover band as opposed to an original band. But I mean, Steve, you know this better than just about anybody, how appreciative I am when I have a creative endeavor and people support it.
Right.
And, you know, you and I are friends because of that. I mean, you came to see my band and then we, you know, started talking wrestling, and then here we are 20 years later, you know,
Yeah, right.
Like, so I just, to have people listen to me, you know, spew nonsense about Star Wars with my, you know, my brother and one of my best friends is just absolutely flattering. And I think it's the thing I'm most thankful for, is for the people that give me a platform to be able to do this and sit here with you guys every 2 weeks and just, talk a bunch of crap. I mean, it's so much fun. And it's, like I said, I said it before, but it's so weird. I look at it like, yeah, I got a radio show. And that's how it feels. I feel like a little kid. Like I get to talk about Star Wars, and other people actually want to hear what we have to say. I think it's great, man. So
that people will listen to the complete drivel that we put at the end of these shows
Right.
sometimes with yakety sax playing underneath it.
we definitely do have a different kind of show. I was listening to some other Star Wars podcasts last week, and I was like, man, we are the a-holes of the podcasting community, man. Like we are total chumps. Like, my goodness.
Yeah. Who else has this going for them?
If level 1313 still existed in Star Wars canon at this point, we would be living on it.
Yes, we
We are definitely in the seedy underbelly of Coruscant.
Yeah.
So do you guys have anything you'd like to add to that?
When Obi-Wan talks about the people that live at the
Right.
that are down in the cantina and stuff, we are the guys that are announcing the cantina band.
Our show is the wretched hive of scum and villainy of the podcasting world.
We're the opening act for
What is it? Something in the modal nodes?
Yeah. Figuring down.
Figure it down. That's
screw
right,
it. They're jizz whalers. Everybody's a jizz whaler. I don't care anymore.
Akbar's fish sticks from the sea. They cooked tender and flaky. Cook some up for me and you. Pass them up would be a big mistakey.
Yeah.
Big mistakey.
It's a no, guys. I think it works better as an instrumental anyway.
Oh my god.
The half asleep, like 2:00 in the morning, like show edits I'm trying to do sometimes, because it's the only time I have to do any of it, and having, a couple hundred people listen to that, a few hours later, how many times have I Dropboxed this stuff to you guys like 4 hours before it's supposed to be uploaded? because I have to wait for my son to nap before I can go run and get the computer and do any work to it. Right.
As you peel back the curtain on our technical work.
It's real life. We have to make this crap. This crap don't make itself, man.
Hashtag podcasting problem.
You know how much work I had to put into this today?
By hook or by crook, we managed to get it out every 2 weeks anyway. I just wanted to wrap up by saying I'm thankful for the fans as well because of the inspiration they give us.
Yes.
Like even just the slightest little bit of feedback or anything that we get. Like we had a comment on the last show about how Luke showed his power and how he's supposed to be the most powerful Jedi. And, it's a good take. It's a simple take. He says, I'll read it right off of Facebook here. It says, Luke showed his power by not embracing the rigid dogma and outright rejecting the dark side and using his love for his father to defend the Empire.
Yeah.
Who was sorry, to defeat the Emperor. I couldn't see around my own pop filter.
Right. Who was that?
That was John Phillips.
Oh, very cool.
On our Facebook page. And yeah, I'd never thought about it like that before. Like his power wasn't in wielding his lightsaber the best of anyone ever or being able to force push or mind trick someone. It was just being a good person and being able to turn a villain into an ally.
Yep.
With the power of love, as corny as that is, but that's really true.
With the what?
No, we're not doing that game on air. Okay.
I almost got a point.
All right. If you tweet it at Dog Pound Jedi, if you want to know that thing, but it's not making it on the air. Damn it.
You never know.
We've had enough of that.
If I was quicker, I totally would have played that song.
See, I could have got a point there if I knew the song. All right. So on that note, we will close up shop for this week. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to our episode 4.
What are you going to do? You're what?
No. I win the game. I don't play the game. Nice.
Point regardless.
Want to thank everyone for tuning into the last episode and checking this one out as well. You can find us at all the usual places, nerfherdercouncil.com. We do have our Facebook page where you can interact with us. We are on Twitter at NHC Podcast. Give us a call. Leave us a message on our voicemail, 440-987 WARS. I had a brain fart there. 440-987 WARS, which is
not a brain fart, man. When you don't use it, you don't remember the number.
I've never forgotten it before. But
It's that old thing. I never call myself.
Yeah. 440-987-9277 to leave us a message, interact with the show directly. And we do have our Spreaker account where you can find us in all sorts of other fun little podcasting places. And hope everybody out there has a great Thanksgiving. I know I've got 5 of them to go to. So hopefully you guys get a lot of turkey like I will. And
You lucky bastard.
you know that's right.
That's my favorite meal of the year.
I love it because you can just gorge yourself on the turkey and it's healthy. So I'm not going to get fatter.
On what?
Nope, not doing it. I'm your host, JT, at Dog Pound Jedi. He's AJ.
At Drake Adams 579.
He's Steve.
At JSteve1005.
And we are thankful that we get to catch you again.
Happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Later, everyone.
This bucket of bolts is never gonna get us past that blockade.
This bucket's got a few surprises left in her. Plus, me and Chewie are on it. Ain't that right, Chewie?
Hell yeah, you my nerf herder.
You my nerf herder.